Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
And always remember this quotation from one of America's premier founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson. Peace is that brief, glorious moment in history when everybody stands around reloading. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. We need some patriots. Come on, where's the patriots here? Pledge of Allegiance time. Good morning, good morning. I love that lady's voice. Thank you very much. Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the very best of tires and front end alignment, shocks and struts, brake service. It goes on and on. Stop in and see them today. Along with one of our great advertisers, Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, 734-6969. Right now, let's go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I'm so glad that you called in this morning with our pledge. Go ahead, sir, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dal, thank you so much. God bless you and your lovely wife, and have a great day, okay?
I can barely hear you.
I'm sorry. The equipment evidently is not functioning properly at the station, and I can't. I'll do all I can to try to get it increased. Wheels, you're going to have to ride the gain a little bit, please. And good morning, everybody, and welcome to our program as we go to the weather forecast, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And always look for the blue door. Oh, my goodness. All your carpet and flooring. As a matter of fact, all your new flooring, whether tile, wood, or carpet, it's right there with a lot of different varieties and colors to choose from, and these folks can really beautify your home. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Here's Gina with the weather.
Here's the weather forecast as we are moving our way through the work week on Wednesday, March 23rd, and it is going to be breezy, but welcome to Southern Idaho. Winds out of the west right around 20 miles an hour for today. Expect partly cloudy skies. High of 51 with an overnight low of 34. Winds picking up a little bit tomorrow out of the southwest right around 25 miles an hour. Mostly cloudy skies. High of 53 with an overnight low of 34. And, of course, again, windy for Friday. We're probably going to be in a wind advisory on Friday. Winds out of the west right around 30 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies. High of 44 with an overnight low of 26. And then for the weekend, winds dying down, looking at partly smoky sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the low to mid-50s. Yesterday's high was 48. The overnight low was 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Excellent job. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Oh, we've got a great program this morning, and I really think you don't want to miss a minute of it. I'll tell you a little rundown. Excuse me. We're going to be talking to Dave Bigo at 9:06 in Indianapolis, Indiana. Then at 9:30, we've got my buddy Jack Euler going to be talking about quite a few different things going on with endangered species. And then at 10:06, I really have been blessed in booking a gentleman by the name of Rich Miniter. He is the CEO of America Media and Institute on Terrorism. And he has lived in Brussels, and he's going to tell us all about that. And then the big interview this morning with Dr. Elena George back in Atlanta, Georgia at 10:30. And you know, she knows more about Obamacare, what it can do, what it did do, and what it isn't doing than anybody else, and we're going to have her on the program, so don't miss a minute of it. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. My goodness sakes, you stop into America's Diner anytime, all the time for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Super nice people and fantastic menu choices. You're going to love it. It is the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. We have a ball over there. Great folks, Thomas and Terry and the crew. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and they also have one at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. You stop in and see them today. Also, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Hello, Ramsey's. How are you? And, of course, they threw open the doors this morning at 7:30, and they'll stay open until 5 o'clock today, Monday through Friday. Number to call ahead if you want to have something waiting for you on the counter. 678-0459. They have all your heating and electrical needs. They are the best, bar none, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. You stop in, see them today. You know, it was, and yes, I'm prejudiced when I say this. I want to be upfront and honest about it. It was despicable. It was revolting. It was pathetic. Those are all the words that I find that are fitting to aim at Obama in Cuba. When he stood up yesterday to give a speech, he allocated a total, and I'm not making this up, folks, 51 seconds. 51 seconds, not even a full minute. Is that what he gave to acknowledge the terror attack in Brussels yesterday? 51 seconds. Oh, I'll bet the Democrats are really proud of him. And then, what really frosted the cake, Obama goes to a baseball game in Cuba, and I know that a lot of you say, well, you're nitpicking, he's on a trip, et cetera, et cetera. No, wait a minute. I think he should have got right back on Air Force One, and I think he should have headed north home. I think he should have acted presidential. I think he should have addressed all of us, the American public, about the severity of the terror attacks and also the very heightened elevation of worry around the globe. But he didn't do that. He went to a baseball game and was in the wave, you know, everybody standing up, waving their... I'm just not in favor of anything this man does or doesn't do. I don't like him. And to all of you out there in the audience, and some of you listen and criticize after the program, which shows a lack of courage on your part, to all of you that sent me emails way back as far as 2007, prior to Obama's being elected, and called me all kinds of names and everything because I didn't like the man then, and I like him even less now, I kept every one of those emails. And I know some of you, and I see some of you, and I just wonder how proud you are of Barack right now. Really, how proud are you of this presidency? We are in a lot of trouble. Financially, our economy is on the brink of falling into a huge chasm. $19 trillion in debt. We are on the brink of a huge international growth of terrorism that could envelop all the countries in the world. And people have had it. People have absolutely had it, and they want to fight back. They want to fight back. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Your calls mean a lot to me because you're showing your opinion, and I really do appreciate it, so give us a jingle on the landline if you would, please. I want to remind you, too, I got to get my book over here, that Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You know, I was all set to go in there today. I had an appointment. Well, I overlooked that I had another appointment for a meeting at the same time. Well, I can't be two places at once. So I'm going to have to reschedule, and I did for next week. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists, they know. They know all the exercises. They know all the sports medicine. They know how to handle everybody in that pool, that hydrotherapy pool with the treadmill. Oh, my goodness, that's good for you. They can help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, and the number 678-1191. You call those good folks today. I absolutely urge you, knock over the microphone, take care of yourself. Give them a call today. Also want to remind you, too, that on Tuesdays, we have Dr. History. I love that program. He comes up with some of the doggonedest historical stories that took place way back when in our early America, and a lot of them right here in this area, and we want to say thank you to him. Minnecasia Sales, Zach and the crew at 1321 East Main Street in Burley. All your lumber, all your shingles, all your remodeling equipment, I'm telling you, you name it, upgrade your windows with the Western Windows. They've got it all for you. And call ahead, 878-2091 if you wish. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Now, whether you like him or not, that's not the point of our conversation here this morning. Donald Trump is gaining support for his get tough policy on terror and where he stands and what he has said in the primaries. Yesterday, and I was shocked when I heard these stories and verified them this morning, yesterday the Women on the View television program, very liberal, they agreed with Donald Trump. They agreed with Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton, who had the most milquetoast response of anybody, I think, for the absolutely heinous attack in Brussels. And then what really set my ears on fire was Piers Morgan. Remember him? The judge that nobody liked on the show called America's Got Talent. I mean, the most conceited, arrogant, liberal in the world. And, I mean, the other judges on that TV program, they couldn't stand the guy. And America couldn't stand the guy. And then he had his own talk show, and they couldn't stand him there. He came out and backed Donald Trump. I mean, all the pillars on the building were falling in. Yes, he said it's time to go after and kill ISIS and Al-Qaeda. There's no more weakened Obama attitude on just containment because it's not working. One thing that Donald Trump said, and I want your response on this. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. And by the way, if there's any Democrats listening out there this morning that have the backbone and the courage to call me and talk about your caucus yesterday, of which Bernie Sanders won really handily right here in the state of Idaho, surprised me, and talk about what's going on with the GOP, I'd welcome your call. And we'll have a nice visit, and everybody will be a gentleman and or lady in the call. So Democrats, come on, don't be afraid. Call in. Well, Donald Trump has some views on interrogation that I absolutely listened to yesterday with great interest, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Well, I'm waiting for your call because your opinion means a lot. Oh, by the way, Randy, if you're listening out there this morning, I had to kind of cut you off a little bit yesterday. My apology, but time was of essence, and I didn't mean to do that. I just wanted to call and let you know that on the air this morning, and your calls are always appreciated. Barry Equipment and Rental, Eli, Nick, and the whole crew, I mean, all the folks out there at 3 locations, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. All the equipment. I mean, right now we got to be even thinking about, the Walker lawnmowers. Yes, sirree. They have the equipment to get all the job done right. And the Coyote tractors, they've got a great selection. They've got the 25 horsepower and up. And, of course, great warranties and super financing programs always at Barry Equipment and Rental. Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and another great big location with all kinds of equipment, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, Barry Equipment and Rental. All right, you give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, I also want to say Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, heat pumps, everything. You just call 678-0459, and Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with Lennox, can save you money. Donald Trump said that it is time to up the ante and get a lot tougher on interrogation of captured prisoners with ISIS and Al-Qaeda, or for that matter, Boko Haram or whomever. And no more weak-kneed attitude. You know, political correctness, and a lot of you out in the audience disagree with me on this. I know because we talked about this about 6-8 months ago. But if you, and heaven forbid that this ever happens, but if you all of a sudden had a phone call and your son or daughter was being held captive in a school, and these absolutely animal terrorists were going to blow up that school, and the police and authorities did have one captive from that terrorist group, would you not want that police force or interrogators to go to any means necessary to get the information on who's got the bomb, what's going on, and possibly stop and stymie what these people, these vermin, might do to your child and your neighbor's children? Do you mean to tell me that you would sit back and say, oh, no, you can't waterboard, you can't do this, oh, no, just ask them their name, and if they don't respond, gee, I guess we're just not going to get any information from them? Would you really sit back and say that? Or would you say, I don't care what you do, I don't care how you get the information, save my son or daughter, save my neighbor's son or daughter from these animals? I think in almost all cases, the latter would take precedence over the former. In other words, I think that anybody and everybody, and I know I would, if there was an opportunity to save our children, save our schools, save a factory, save a business, save somebody that's being in a mass hold-up or something where there was a bomb involved, like the San Bernardino shootings or whatever, if there was any way to stop it, and get the information from a captive, I would do it. What are your thoughts? Do you draw the line? Are there goody two-shoes out there that say, oh no, well, we can't do that. No, we're above that. When you say we're above that, do you really mean, honestly, that you would let your son, your daughter, your wife, or your husband be killed because we're above that? Call me. I want to hear what you have to say. Really, it means a lot. Give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, I also want to mention to you about our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology, the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup, and, of course, if you're having hearing problems, like you call in, we can't hear, I can make sure that Wheels turns it up so you can hear. Hey, don't let that be an excuse not to call. Give us a call. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Don't forget, they're located across from the Minidoka Memorial Hospital, and that's the emergency room, All you have to do is call for an appointment at 312-0957 and check out your hearing. Like I said, there's so many reasons why hearing loss might be becoming dominant in your life, and so many good reasons that it can be corrected. So please get a hold of her today. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Dr. Christine Pickup, and the number 312-0957. Oh, and by the way, on Mondays, and this is really a hit on this program, I get so many thank yous. Caller, I'll be right there. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert, and we give away those cinnamon rolls on Monday. They got a bakery over there that is just absolutely knock your socks off delicious. And a restaurant, it's great. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
If there was my son or daughters, I'd do anything in my power to take care of them.
Fred, you are a great American, a veteran, and you've seen the world at its worst in world wars. And I sit here and I have not seen the things that you have. I have not been in the positions you have been in. But I know, and you know me well enough that you know this is true, that if my family was in a desperate situation and there was an opportunity to get the information to stop them from being harmed or killed, Fred, I tell you and everybody else, I would go to any limits to get that information.
Well, you know me the same way. I think you know me well enough.
I do. Why is it, Fred, in today's age, they got such a mamby-pamby milquetoast attitude?
I lost you there.
I said, why is it today, do you think, that there is such a milquetoast, mamby-pamby attitude to where people don't want to ever interrogate somebody to get the information necessary to save lives?
I don't know what's wrong with them, Zeb. They're milquetoast. I can't believe that they can interrogate them to get the information that they need. I can't understand them.
I can't either, but
it's a different world than I grew up in.
Amen. It's so good to hear from you. Say hello to your lovely wife. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Fred.
You and Deanne.
Oh, thank you. Dear friend right there. Very, very dear friend. There are those, and some live here. They've already called and criticized me after the program, or they send me emails. Oh, you're an animal. Oh, you're no better than the terrorists. Oh, you do this and oh, you do that. Why, you're disgusting. Maybe I am. I don't know. But I know that in the case of these alleged bombers and killers over in Brussels, that there was opportunity. According to what we're finding out, they knew who the bad guys were living in this one area of Brussels that seems to be a hotbed for terrorists. They knew who the bad guys were. And they kind of had a hands-off, police don't go into that area situation. And they basically let these terrorists kind of just grow in their absolutely evil ways and not be checked. Well, maybe people have had enough. Maybe those 3 young men from Utah, Mormon missionaries that are suffering right now because of the bomb blast. Maybe some of the women and mothers and husbands and dads and children that have had their legs blown off yesterday with 4-inch nails that were packed in the bomb. Maybe between the blood and the gore, people have had enough. Maybe it's time to grab some of these bad guys and tell them, you know what? Look, Abdul, you've got some information, and if you don't give it, the ramifications and repercussions against you are going to cause you one tremendous world of pain. Now, we're going to start in 30 seconds, so if I were you, I'd start spilling your guts. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
And good morning, Jeb. Well, you know, it's really sad. I don't know how many killings it's going to take, how many terrorist attacks. Out of, in 2015, there were about 452 terrorist attacks around the world. All but 2 of those were involved Muslims. And in this country, when they took a survey, 25% of the Muslims that are already here support terrorist jihad. And I got something from the Thomas More Law Center. It's a short quote, but it's this CAIR. You heard about CAIR, C-A-I-R, relations. This Omar Ahmad, he's one of the co-founders, he said this: Islam isn't in America to be equal to any other faith. First of all, it's not a faith, it's a theocracy. But to become dominant, the Quran should be the highest authority in America, and Islam the only accepted religion on earth. And a little further down on this letter that I got, he says, we will conquer Europe, we will conquer America. Folks, we just better start waking up, stop all of this immigration of Muslims. We can't vet them. They can lie. That's part of the Quran. They have the lower house and the upper house. And when this Pastor Sharon Hadian was here, they can lie through their teeth at the lower house. Once they get control, then they're commanded not to lie. But it's a little too late by that time. They've got control.
Amen.
In neighborhoods in America, that's already happened, Ed.
I agree with you, and I really appreciate that because you've led me right into the next segment that I wanted to talk about. Adrian, God bless you, man. Thank you for your call. I appreciate it. Thank you.
People wake up and let's stop this immigration and stop this killing.
Hey.
They're going to kill us if we keep going.
Amen. Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about all of our 50 United States. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Stand by. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair, 635 21st Street, Alfresco Road in Heyburn. Number to call, 878-4991. And Doug bought the business from Ted's Diesel Electric Service, changed the name, now Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. He can rebuild starters, alternators, generators, and sell you brand new, too. Call him, 878-4991. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. Here's the deal, folks, and this is why I want your support. I need your support on this program. I'm not getting on my knees and begging, but I'm just saying I need your support. Here's why. My wife and I are putting forth a huge effort every morning at 3:45 in the morning until we sign on at 8:06. To bring you the most honest, reputable, legitimate guests in America talking about various subjects. Now, for those of you that listen to the program faithfully, you know that we really are bringing on the same people that you'll find on the news every single night, whether it's NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, MSNBC, whatever. And this morning, 3 times between the hours here in Idaho of 4, 5, and 6, Eastern Time, 6, 7, and 8, Ryan Morrow, a program a guest that I've had on my program many, many times. He heads up the Clarion Project back east, which studies terrorists and terrorism. Ryan Morrow was on that program 3 times. I have his personal number, and I gave him a call in between sets on Fox News New York this morning. And I said, Ryan, I know you're busy, But the people here in southern Idaho, I think they need to know from you what is going on possibly here in this area that you have studied. Would you come on the program tomorrow morning at 8:30? Now, normally in this first hour, like right now, we have questions and we have answers and we have back and forth with you and I. I don't usually have the open forum hour open for guests. But because of the critical nature of what's going on in this country today, which a lot of you, and boy, yesterday I found that out. A lot of us are so naive, and they're saying, wow, that's over in Brussels, Belgium. No, it's not just in Brussels, Belgium. It's in our backyard. Why do I say that? Because right now, let me emphasize this, all 50 states of our United States, whether it's Pennsylvania, whether it's Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, California, Seattle, Washington, or here in Idaho, all 50 states right now are being investigated for terrorist activities within our state. Look over your shoulder. Look around. Might be out in the desert. Right here in the Magic Valley. Might be up by the craters of the moon. Might be way up north. But they're being studied right now by the FBI and other members of security staffs. They have found major camps in Texas. They have found major camps in upstate New York, in Oregon. And are we naive enough to think that they're not here in Idaho? Well, they are, because our state's being investigated also. And he's going to be on tomorrow morning at 8:30, and we're going to discuss this. But I'm telling you, we've got to remember to see something, say something. That woman in California, down by San Bernardino, that was the neighbor to the killing Muslim terrorists that lived next door, said that after the fact, well, I saw something happening over there, and yeah, there were some strange things going on. Yeah, there were some strange deliveries and parcels and boxes and strange-looking people, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to make any waves. I didn't want to act like I was not politically correct. And then 14 people got killed, and many more were shot and maimed, because she didn't want to say something that was not politically correct. Is that what we've come to? You don't want to hurt someone's feelings? You don't want to draw attention to someone? Oh, well, I don't want to embarrass them. Oh, gee, somebody might think I'm not politically correct. I don't want to come under all that scrutiny. I don't care. I've told you the story about me being in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. This took place 5 years ago. And a Middle Eastern man and another gentleman were waiting for that same flight I was getting on. And this man had a parcel in a brown paper sack. I've told you this story before. And he got up, and the other gentleman left early and went down the hallway. And this gentleman sat there for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden he got up and went the other way down the hallway. And left the parcel sitting there at the concourse. I sat there, and I was talking to this other guy, and he was from Salt Lake City, and we were sitting there talking about the rodeo business and horses and everything else, and I said, you know what, I saw that guy over there leave that parcel. I'm going to go tell the people at the gate about it. And I'm glad that I did, even though it turned out to be negative. Yes, they had the security people come in. Yes, they had everybody scrutinized that was there. They found the guy that had left the parcel, and it turned out to be innocent. But am I sorry that I called attention to that parcel? No. I'm doggone glad. Because I didn't trust the looks of him, and I didn't trust the looks of the parcel. Politically correct, don't want to be. Because it could have turned out the other way. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. See something, say something. Who cares? And I mean this. You can criticize me if you want. Who cares about hurt feelings? Hurt feelings. They never killed anybody. The 44th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale is going to be April 6th through the 10th in Salmon, Idaho at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds. Holy moly. Let's see, when's Fred going to be on? He's going to be on tomorrow. Fred Snook's going to be on tomorrow, I think at 10:30, and we're going to be talking about this. Isn't just a sale, it's a happening. I mean, they got so doggone much going on up there. And they're going to have mule clinics. They're going to have packing clinics. They're going to have cow cutting competitions. They're going to have barrel racing and ranch horse competitions. And the sale of the mules, the sale of the horses, and big dinners, and just a lot of fun. 44th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale going on at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon, Idaho, April 6th through the 10th. Don't you miss it. Get on up there. Going to be a lot of fun. Calls welcome, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, by the way, I gotta tell you this. If somebody called me this morning, my goodness sakes, it's lonesome in here. I want to make sure that we're coming out on the airways. Oh, am I just talking to myself and the dog? Ruby, call me. Anyway, have you seen the Second Amendment come to life on television in the ad for the NRA with Charlie Daniels? My buddy Charlie. You know, I've had the opportunity to meet Charlie on many, many occasions and work with him at rodeos across the United States, the Charlie Daniels Band, and Charlie is very forthright and proud to be an American. To be an American. And that NRA ad where he stands up and advocates the Second Amendment, if that doesn't give you chills down your backbone, nothing will. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your call.
Yes, good morning. Earlier you asked that people who'd been to the caucus be polite when they call. Well, yesterday I was talking to a friend about immigration and refugees, and it wasn't polite. This person was really upset with the way I looked at things. So during this election season, I think I can't expect people to be polite because it's just a mess. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of be a little more careful, but not just clam up.
I don't think...
That's what I have to say.
Wait a minute. Stay with me on the line for a minute. Stay with me. You brought up some interesting points. You sound like a very nice gentleman. But what did you say, or what were your positions that the other person didn't like?
Well, the refugee problem, I mentioned to her that it looked like to me most of them were males between 19 years old and 36.
Uh-huh.
And which I still think was the case. Well, she says, oh no, it's mostly women and children.
No.
So I said, well, I don't know. And but I still firmly, even though our country, our imperialism responsible for displacing a lot of these people, we still can't just take all these people in right now. That's what I said.
Let me ask you a question, sir. And again, I value your content of what you said. Number one, we have so many homeless people in this United States in the larger inner cities, and they're not being taken care of. Number two, we have veterans that are coming home with traumatic brain injuries and other physical impairments and mental conditions, and they can't even get into a VA. Number three, we're giving people that want to come to this country legally and become citizens the run around. They got to do this, that, and the other, and they got to study, but at the same time, we let illegal citizens come in, and then Hillary Clinton has the audacity and stupidity to say that she's going to give them health care on our money. Why shouldn't you stand up and tell these people they're wrong?
Another question she asked me was, oh, well, do you know any refugees? And I had to say yes. That is, I spent a lot of time in Texas, and plenty of guys who'd walked across the border down there. Mm-hmm. Now, those weren't Syrians, but they're illegal.
That's right.
And I also know a lot of guys down there, second, third generation Mexicans, who did it the hard way. They went through the immigration office, and those guys are upset.
Absolutely.
Anyway, this gal, she just stormed out of the room yesterday, and so this political season, we have to keep the dialogue going. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, let me just ask you this, and tell me a yes or no short answer, because I got to get to a weather, but I want you to answer this. If you are honest and you are forthright and you have your opinions all thought out as to what is going on or wrong with this country, why should you ever back up and not voice your opinion?
Agreed.
God bless you, sir. Thank you for your call. It meant a lot to me this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice man and an honest man. And a man that's not going to be badgered into not saying anything. And I respect him. Thank you very much. Time for the weather, brought to you by Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. 336 South, 450 West of Paul. Number to call, 431-8733. I've been telling you about how they can take care of all your pruning of your trees and get the stumps out of the ground and everything. They are so darn good with trees. Scott knows all about trees. I mean, this guy just absolutely eats, sleeps, and breathes. Oh, trees! He knows them. And great sprinkler service. They can put in new sprinklers, fix your old ones. They're good. Call them today, 431-8733. Here's Gina with the weather.
Here's the weather forecast as we are moving our way through the work week on Wednesday, March 23rd, and it is going to be breezy, but welcome to Southern Idaho. Winds out of the west right around 20 miles an hour for today. Expect partly cloudy skies. High of 51 with an overnight low of 34. Winds picking up a little bit tomorrow out of the southwest right around 25 miles an hour. Mostly cloudy skies. High of 53 with an overnight low of 34. And, of course, again, windy for Friday. We're probably going to be in a wind advisory on Friday. Winds out of the west right around 30 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies. High of 44 with an overnight low of 26. And then for the weekend, winds dying down. Looking at partly smoky sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the low to mid-50s. Yesterday's high was 48. The overnight low was 35. That is your weather for Zebra Duran.
Thank you, Gina, and thank you very much to Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. 336 South, 450 West of Paul. Hey, call Scott, 431-8733. I'll be very emphatic and upfront and honest. No, I don't want any more refugees here in Magic Valley. No, I don't want any more refugees brought into Boise. No, I don't want anything to do with the refugee center or plans for more refugees. We are not taking care of our own. And quite frankly, the added expense and burden on our tax dollars, we can't handle it right now. Okay? Number two, yes, we need to be much tougher. Yes, we need to be much more cognizant of what's going on in our country. Yes, this president has done a doleful job of not maintaining our safety and security. He's more interested in image and his legacy. This man is disgusting, and you can stand toe-to-toe and nose-to-nose with any Democrat and really ask them what this man has done. All of his policies have been idiotic and not thought out, in simple terms. And they've harmed, hurt, and destroyed the fabric of America. And as far as you can take this to the bank, too, on terrorism and what's happening in this country, we need to declare a real war on Muslim jihadis. The United States needs to be on the phone right now today. Obama should be in the Oval Office calling every single nation in NATO and saying, okay, boys, time to put the uniforms on. We're going after the bad guys. Full force. No more weak need. Absolutely mamby-pamby. Oh, touch, don't hurt. Attitude. Get rid of it. No more PC. No more political correctness. Throw it away. We know who the bad guys are. Let's go get them. Calls are welcome. 436-2244. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
You know, Zeb.
By the way, stop right there because I got to tell you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about yesterday, Randy. I did not mean to cut you off. I was running out of time. I apologize.
Hey, I didn't need to tell that stupid story again. I was riding the lift with this guy, and every time, just like this previous caller said, when they got mad, she stormed out of the room. This guy just called me names when he couldn't defend logically anything at all.
Why didn't you just dump him out of the lift?
Well, I would have been in jail. I mean, hey, Steph, if I'm going to do something, I at least ought to do something worth doing, I guess.
What?
Hey, quickly, my point. Okay, I don't know what the security around Brussels, Belgium is, but I would think that, that it would be pretty high, and they were able to do just anything they wanted. Now, I guess the next place they're coming would be Washington, D.C., or what? That's where it needs to happen. And then maybe, just maybe, these elected officials that we put our faith in, even though we know they are not doing it, would decide that they were actually going to do something about this.
Randy, right there, that's where the naivete comes in from this country and especially even this area. People think that because it happened over in Brussels, it can't happen here. And that is just a precursor of what these people want to do here in the United States. And that's why I've been so fortunate to get this Mr. Minotaur on my program at 10:06 this morning, because he's talking about this same thing, about the naivete of America. They think it happens over there. Well, it's coming in droves here if we're not careful and stand up to them.
Well, think about Paris. I've never been to Europe. But Paris, the city of light, peace. You can go there and have a very, satisfied, vacation and not worry about, your safety. Well, I tell you what, Europe, I wouldn't, my daughter and my two daughters wanted to go to Europe. And I said, my wife said, we can't let them go.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I hear you, and I'm really worried about what's going to be happening over the next 3 weeks. Why do I say that? Because some of the people I've talked to in New York and Washington this morning, they are very concerned that we are not prepared for what might take place here. Randy, I got to run, but again, I'm sorry I cut you off yesterday. I didn't mean it. I was at a lack of time.
Don't worry about it.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Yesterday during the Frosty segment, I cut Randy off early, and I was down to the last couple of seconds, literally, and I had to get some things in, and I apologize for that. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. Man, these are really good folks, and you drive in and at any location, and they just come running out the door. May we help you? Yeah, they come up to your vehicle at a high lope, let me tell you. Well, they've got the best in tires. You know that, all the different tires, and many of which are on sale right now. And they've got very convenient credit terms, and they've got the custom wheels to dress up your four-wheeled wonder. But I want to talk a little bit about brakes this morning. They've got professionally trained technicians, free brake inspections and estimates, and then premium quality parts. They are the best. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Coming up next hour, Dave Bigo, Indianapolis, Indiana, and then Jack Euler at 9:30. Lots of good things. Zeb at the Ranch, and at this time, we're going to send it back over to old Uncle Wheels, and he's going to play some music up to CBS News. We will be back in about 6 minutes. Oh my, here we go. Hour number 2 on a Wednesday, March 23rd. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And of course, our great advertisers, one of which is Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and resources. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, I tell you about the garbage pickup, and I tell you all about the porta potties, and I tell you everything they do, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. They also have the Go Minis storage units. You can fill them up and get them stored, and I'll tell you what, if you're moving someplace across town or across the state, I'll guarantee you this is the way to keep everything nice, clean, neat, and out of the weather with the Go Minis from Western Waste Services. Call today and get more information. Number to call, 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Every morning we start the program, you know, at 8:06 we have the weather forecast brought to us by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Yes, carpet flooring, kitchen construction, home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home. Cheney Flooring and Home Design in Burley. Look for the blue door. Really good folks. And we're going to have Dave Bigo on the phone just momentarily. Stand by, but I also want to tell you about, you know, and there is the passing of a loved one in your family. It's just absolutely, I've been through it with my mom and dad and other members of the family. You just absolutely don't know what to do and how to get things done. Well, that's why you should know our good friends at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The family, the staff, Joel Heward, all of them with very flexible hours to serve you. Always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please remember the number and give them a call. 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Let's go to the phone lines right now. And before we get real serious this morning, good morning, Dave Bigo, Indianapolis, Indiana. How are you?
I'm doing great, Zeb. How you doing this morning?
I am fantastic. Hey, listen, David, it might work out that you, Indiana, will take on me, Wisconsin, in the NCAAs. What do you think about that?
Well, I feel sorry for you.
Great response. I like that. I'm not so sure. My Wisconsin boys have overplayed themselves, I think. They were picked maybe not to make it even out of the first round. Hey, that last 2-second shot by Koenig the other night, now that was something to watch.
Oh, they played great. They did a great job, and they hustled. They deserved to win. But like I said, if they match up against Indiana, I feel sorry for you.
You know what? Your name, Bigo, the last three letters are kind of summing up how you're treating me this morning. Ego.
Oh, no. I think it's in the cards. So.
Well, I can see another bottle of wine coming back this way to the west.
Okay, you're on if it happens, okay?
All right. Hey, all seriousness, I know there's a lot of different things we're going to talk about, unions and everything else this morning, but in all seriousness, something that has really taken over my program since yesterday into today, this absolute heinous attack on innocent people in Brussels. Absolutely, it can happen here. There are plans by the terrorists to move it over here to the United States. What were your thoughts about this, what happened yesterday?
Well, I think, Zeb, your hearts have to go out to these people who were hurt and lost loved ones over there. And I am really, I think the American people need to step back and look at our president. And, he has not done his job, and he has not shown the United States will address this stuff and step up and let the ISIS know that if they do things, we will come after them and address it. And because of that, they're on the attack. So they look at it and think, he's not going to come after him. He's not going to do anything, and they might as well continue their agenda. And that's sad for not just the American people, because I think they're probably here too, and I'm concerned about an attack. But what's going on around the world.
Let me ask you this, David. Yesterday, and I've been very critical of Obama, and I do not apologize. I don't like the man nor his ideology. But yesterday in Cuba, after the attacks, Barack Obama said just 51 seconds of verbiage regarding the attacks. 51 seconds. And then he goes to a baseball game with Raul Castro. I don't like what he did. I think he should have been home in the Oval Office. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely he should have. I mean, he should have gone on Air Force One right away and been back here and looking into this thing and talking to, his military and the CIA and everybody about what's going on and how America addresses that. America has always stood up for the rest of the world in the past, and, World War II and, Vietnam and other places, and we need to do those things again. Sometimes they're not always as popular as people like, but the truth is there's bad people in the world, and you have to have a show of power to stop them. And I honestly, Zeb, at the end of the day, and I told you this before, I think Obama's in cahoots. He wants ISIS to know that he's not going to do anything, so they continue to make their attacks, maybe do some in America, with the ultimate goal of bringing down America. And I think, I believe the American people really, really need to wake up.
With that being said, America needs to wake up. I have noticed, and I want to throw this at you this morning, I have noticed that some of the staunch liberals, like the ladies on the television show The View, they are very supportive of Hillary Clinton. Yesterday, they came out and basically advocated the anti-terror policies of Donald Trump. And then a gentleman that has really spit out Donald Trump as often as he can, and that's Piers Morgan. He came out and advocated Donald Trump's policies are probably the best. You know what? I'm seeing a change and hearing a change that this political correctness has got to be thrown in the garbage. Your thoughts?
Absolutely it does. I wrote a blog on political correctness about a year ago that this could be part of the destruction and downfall of America. And these people in media and that, they need to wake up and quit playing to, pandering so that they get attendance and ratings and votes and all that kind of stuff. The first thing that we have to do as a country, every American, is what's best for this country and protecting American lives. And if you think about it, that's the number one job of our president, and he's not doing his job.
Dave, as a businessman, and I want you to address this as a entrepreneur and a man that has really built a business, and it's a good business. What were your thoughts when you heard that Obama was going to Cuba? And what are we, the United States, what are we going to get out of this by resuming relationships with them? Really, with the Castro brothers, what do we, the United States, gain on this?
Nothing. This is all about Obama. You know, he's trying to continue his legend, and and he thinks, again, as I've said before, he believes that this should be a one world order where we're all the same. He believes in socialism, communism, and he's going to continue to pander and work with these people and that. But the truth is, as we've seen, and I've read a couple articles on it, the people in Cuba are still suffering under the Castro regime. They don't have the opportunities that people in this country have in a free market system. And until they are willing to open up their country as a free market system instead of a socialistic system, we should continue our ban.
I could not agree more. I agree with everything you said this morning, and I don't know why we're capitulating and rolling over and giving things to these people. By the way, they still owe us, the United States, billions and billions of dollars that they haven't even paid the interest on, and we're going to give them more. Dave, it makes no sense to me whatsoever why 90 miles south of Florida we had to capitulate to these people.
Well, you're right, exactly right, Zeb. And this president, again, it's their belief and philosophy of what this world should be, and they think they're smarter than us. And here's the real truth, Zeb, and I tell people this all the time, whether I'm on radio or I'm making speeches or just in general conversations, that people like Obama and the far left really don't know how to operate and be successful in a free market society. They don't know how to sell themselves and work hard and do things right and persevere. So what they have to do is fall back on, the tactics that they've been taught, the Alinsky style, intimidation, lies, misinformation, and all that kind of thing. It's death by 1,000 cuts, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Now, yesterday, the primaries, I want you to discuss this a little bit because I was surprised in some areas of the net result. Donald Trump, I knew, was going to win Arizona because of his stand on immigration. I wasn't so sure about Utah, and Ted Cruz came out the victor in that. However, on the other side of the coin, I was more than surprised that Bernie Sanders, here in my home state of Idaho with the Democratic caucus, won like a 2-1, almost 3-1 vote over Hillary, and he also won Utah. What are your thoughts about what took place, and why is there this infatuation with old socialist Bernie?
Zeb, I'm kind of at a loss, to be honest with you. I don't get it. I know that in Utah with the Mormon church and that there, they have strict beliefs that they go by, and they don't like some of the talk and rhetoric of Trump and, the way he goes after people and his thoughts on sealing the borders and all that. So, and I can see some of that. My son lived out there for a while. He ran a branch we had out there, and he saw a lot of that kind of stuff. But I'm surprised about your state. I don't understand in a state where, it was founded by settlers, and they had to grow that great state and do things under the free market system, why they would be applauding and supporting Bernie Sanders.
Absolutely. Now, as we look ahead, what do you think? And then I want to get into the unions a little bit and any new news on unions. But there is still a lot of talk about a fractured convention. There's still a lot of talk about the so-called elitists trying to do things behind closed doors and smoke-filled rooms. No matter what Trump does, they're going to try to throw him out. I personally think this is going to be the ruination of American politics if they do it. What are your thoughts?
Well, it is going to be, and this is sad because the GOP should go by what the American people want and what their party wants, not what they want. And this is the problem with Washington today, is that we have too many people that are tied up in their own fame and fortune and lifestyle and future lifestyle. And they want to do anything and everything they can to protect that. And I think that, quite honestly, a lot of them are afraid that if Trump wins, that they could see a lot of that go away. Because I think Trump believes in term limits. I think he believes in people being in Washington for a reason, and that's for doing the right things for America, not for their own livelihood.
Okay, now let's get into a bailiwick that you really know more than anyone else that I've ever talked to on this program, and that's labor unions and the disgusting movement, arm twisting, whatever you want to call it, about how labor unions are trying to come back in dominance. Anything new that we haven't talked about last week?
Yeah, there's a big thing that's going to be probably announced by the Department of Labor today, Zeb. It's called the Persuader Rule. They've been working on it behind the scenes, quite honestly, ever since Obama came in. The AFL-CIO introduced it, and they've been pushing it. And what this will do is that when unions want to try and unionize certain employers or go after them, the employer has to reveal anybody they're using as far as a consultant or attorneys or anybody like that to help them fight against the union. And maybe fight's not the wrong word, but, provide their side of it, their proposal on their side. And they have to provide all the costs that involved in it. And, this is bad in a lot of areas because they're not going to allow employers to use some of these people based on cost and other things. But also the attorney-client relationship, which is a sacred thing, is going to be thrown out the window. And on top of that, the worst part is employees are now going to be subjected to more and more union intimidation because employers aren't going to be allowed to help out and get in there and really explain to them what's going on.
I want to make sure I'm clear on this. The Persuader Rule. Let's say that me and 10, 15 other employees, all of a sudden we get together and we come up with various reasons as to why we don't want a union in our business, and we perpetrate that idea to the other employees. Are you telling me that they can come in and basically persuade us and find out more about us and use intimidation to try to sway our opinions at that juncture?
Well, that is part of it, but the big part is that the employers cannot, they have to expose all of the attorneys and consultants they're using to counteract unions' movement and, their lies and their intimidation factors and things like that. So what it's going to do is put employers at a disadvantage because they're not going to be able to do that because the Department of Labor is going to step in and say, no, you can't do that. Only you can talk to your employees. You can't use attorneys and consultants and stuff like that. And it's going to give the labor unions advantage because on their side, they can do that. And this is just another rule being perpetrated by the Obama administration to allow unions to force unionized employees across the country, just like the ambush rule that came out last year.
Now, let me ask you this. We haven't talked about Hillary in this regard on the program as far as unions are concerned. We know where Obama and his administration stands. But what about Hillary and her stand on unions as far as would she change anything? Would she be more devastating? Give us your thoughts on Hillary.
I think she would continue the same type of programs that Obama's doing. The unions are behind her. The SEIU, the union I fought, is definitely behind her and supporting her. And they are going to, because they have to, Zeb, because they continue to dwindle in membership. And the only way that they can have a chance at growing membership back again is have a Democratic president in there who supports them and will change laws and regulations like what's happening with this Persuader Rule today, with the ambush election rule last year, so they can go out and intimidate and force unionized people. Again, as I talk about in my blogs and my book, it's the SEIU's proverbial death by 1,000 cuts to achieve their goal growing the membership back to force unionism.
You know, Dave, I want to get back, if I can, just for a moment, as to the horrendous events of yesterday with that bombing at the airport and also the trains in Brussels. And I'm noticing from some of the calls I've had this morning and some of the people I called back in New York and Washington, there's a different feeling this morning. There is a pugnacious feeling of that's enough. I've had it. It's time to stand up and act tough and act like America used to. Are you seeing this or hearing this back in Indianapolis?
Oh, yeah. I'm seeing it. People I'm talking about all the time. And I was out with a customer last night, and he was just vehemently, that we got to stand up and America needs to be strong again. And, we can't allow these people, because it's kind of like, quite honestly, fighting a bully, or in some places, some of these union bosses. When you stand up and punch the bully in the nose and show that you're strong, you have a backbone, they back down.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do with ISIS and their programs across the Middle East and across the world.
You know, this president has had the word containment in many of his speeches, and there's never been the other side of that coin, aggression, to go get them and kill the bad guys. I think his methodology of containment has backfired, and now the evil, the cancer of ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram and others is spread to almost every country in the world, and containment's not an option right now, David. As far as I'm concerned, it's got to be eradication. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, yeah, we have to go after him. And as I told you earlier, I think this is part of his plan. He wants to see it happen because he wants to fundamentally bring down this country. And, he's still got 9 months left in office, and that worries me that, this country could implode and they declare martial law and he takes over. And I know people think that's a crazy thought, but you have to understand where these people are coming from and how they view the world and, how strong their convictions are.
Absolutely.
I'm concerned about that.
And on a lighter note, ladies and gentlemen, if you were listening at the beginning of this half hour, you heard Mr. Bigo kind of saunter his way into the conversation that his Indiana Hoosiers, if it ends up playing my Wisconsin Badgers, he is going to whoop me. Well, I'll tell you what, you're in for a whooping, and now it's on, buddy. I'll talk to you next Wednesday, and we'll see who's going to win.
Okay, and, if they do play, that bottle of wine will be on the betting table.
Yeah, but do you get UPS back there?
Yes, we do.
Okay. God bless you, David. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great weekend.
All right. Dave Bigo, Indianapolis, Indiana, author of great books like The Devil at My Doorstep, The Devil at Our Doorstep, and a great blog writer. He knows all about the labor unions. I got to pay some bills right now, and I want to remind you that this weekend is Easter, and if you still haven't got that special Easter gift for some member of your family, your neighbor, whatever, please stop in and see Colonel Dale and his fine folks at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Number to call, 678-2505. They've got all the precious moments, figurines, and all the special gifts, and the greeting cards, and of course, you'll never, ever go away empty-handed. Wonderful people serving you at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Oh, and listen to this. Jack Euler just walked in the room, and this man loves to eat. The Goodie Shop at 133 West Main in Burley. Oh, they can create all kinds of special Easter baskets for that special person. Like in Jack's case, we'd have to make a basket that was as big as a doggone heavy loader or a semi. I mean, this guy can eat. Well, they can make it out of cookies and jerky and peanuts and fruit and brownies and everything, and Jack's just sitting over here starving. The Goodie Shop. I'll tell you what, 133 West Main in Burley. Number to call, 647-0106. Hey, by the way, if you've got plumbing problems, you got water on the floor, the toilet doesn't flush, the shower don't work, you really got problems, don't forget to call my friend Harris Plumbing NG, Nathan Harris, for all your plumbing needs. That's who we call. That's who we call. I'll tell you what, one call, that's it. It's fixed. 431-8633. Drips, leaks, clogs, main water line repair, water heater softeners, everything. 24/7 Harris Plumbing NG. 431-8633. 633. I almost forgot the number. Good people over there. In just a moment, I'm going to welcome my friend to the air, and that's Jack Euler. And we've got a lot of things to talk about in regards to the Endangered Species Act and the environmental groups. It never ends. So stand by. Don't forget, let's ride. They're located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Number to call, 436-4771. And I suggest you do call over there and make arrangements to get your ATVs, your dirt bikes, your boats, all of that in to be serviced so it's ready to go for this spring and summer. This is where the fun is sold. And if you don't have an ATV, want an ATV, they've got the ATVs. You stop over and check out all the showroom models. Let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Well, good morning to my buddy. Hello, Jack Euler. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Jack, I don't want to waste any time because it goes so fast with you on the program. I want to ask you, first of all, what are the most prominent subjects that you're worried about right now as to what's happening with Idaho's wildlife, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Endangered Species Act? What's going on that we need to brush up on a little bit?
Well, I think what I'm most worried about is the fact that our kids and our grandkids may not be able to use our public lands.
Yeah.
And, if you think about the long story of that, why all the things that are coming down out of Washington, D.C., and you talk to ranchers and about grazing agreements with BLM and Forest Service and everything, they're starting to use the bighorn sheep as a way to get to ranchers for sheep, and it's a mess.
You know, Jack, I don't think you're going to disagree with me, but every day, every 24-hour period, there is always something with the environmental movement in this country that's out to stop you and I from usage of our public lands. Would you agree with that?
Well, I agree with that. I've been at the table with them too many times, and I know what they are and who they are. And I always ask the question, how much money have you guys as an organization put on the ground to save that species? And it's always zero. They would rather spend their money in court and on judges.
But in many cases,
attorneys and judges.
In many cases, though, Jack, they're not spending their money in the courts.
No,
they're using our money.
It's always our money. Or somebody else's money that gave it to them.
Yeah.
I had a good friend that used to work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in Washington, D.C., and he was there for a long time, and he found out how much of our tax dollars was going to these groups, and he reported it to the government, and they gave it to the GAO to do an investigation, and they came up with the same price as he did, and the last 10 months of his work with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service was at home doing nothing. They told him to stay home, and we will just send your check there. And the last 10 months, that's what he did.
Let's go through some of the newspaper stories that have been coming out of recent time, and one that caught my eye, and I know you read it, you alluded to it a few moments ago. Bighorn sheep ruling could have ramifications on western grazing. Uh-oh. What does that mean exactly?
Well, they're going to. A few years ago, they took away in the Payette, I think it was, they took away 70% of the grazing for sheep because they say that domestic sheep is carrying a disease that gets into bighorn sheep, wild bighorn sheep, and so they've got to take all the sheep off the range. And it's just another way to get to the ranching aspect of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Another story that I was concerned about that I wanted to draw to your attention, and I know as cognizant as you are as to what's going on, you caught this. It was a couple of days ago in the paper, and it caught my eye. The headline said, 9 species environmental groups want to add to endangered list. You're chuckling already. You didn't even let me get it out of my mouth. Were you concerned about this?
Their list is so big that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will never get through it. Yes, I'm concerned about it because it doesn't matter what it is, the day or whatever, they will come up with a new thing to add to the list that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has to respond to. And so they're using the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to supposedly do studies to figure out whether it goes on the endangered species list. They do not care about that species. They do not put any money on the ground.
Jack, another headline, and you and I have talked about this in regards to here in the state of Idaho, but now there was a headline, and it surprised me because the other day when I called one of my think tanks back in Washington, D.C., they asked me about this headline that they had seen in the paper. Aerial gunning reduces Wyoming wolf pack that killed cattle. That's the headline. It was in Wyoming, but yet I was asked about it, and quite frankly, I'm very much in favor of getting the bad guys, in this case the wolves, if they're out killing someone's cattle.
No, totally true. And the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the government, has determined that aerial gunning, one of these days you're going to see aerial gunning outlawed. Ranchers have been using aerial gunning on coyotes for years and years and years, probably 100 years. And one of these days it's going to be outlawed because they call it a mechanical device.
Yeah.
A bullet is a mechanical device.
Oh, my.
And if it misses the animal and hits the ground, it cannot be acceptable because you cannot shoot a mechanical device or land a mechanical device in a wilderness area.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's why they're pushing for all this wilderness.
Yeah.
You know what they're doing up in Blaine County and everywhere else?
But Jack, I'm going to do a commercial break, and I want you to come back and discuss. And you and I have said this many, many times on the air, and I still think there are people listening that don't agree and don't understand this. But we are living, I'll say this, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, and then give an answer to this after the break. There is a big push right now in this country, and especially here in the state of Idaho, to be pro-predator rather than helping what really needs to be helped. And I want you to discuss that after I do the break. Jack Euler is my guest, and we'll have more with him in just a moment. Don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and much, much more, including the word security. They help you with security. So please get a hold of them today. Dedicated and responsive to your needs, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call for an appointment, 436-4424. Really, really good people. We'll do another commercial in just a few minutes, but I want Jack to get back on that microphone. Am I wrong in thinking that today there's more? It's almost like terrorism. We let the bad guys win and the good guys suffer, and it's almost like that with the predators. The predators are supported, and the good livestock and the good wildlife, they're put out in the left field to be shot at. What's going on here?
Well, your article that you just referred to in Wyoming, don't they care about, have you ever heard an environmental group talk about or care about sheep or cattle or whatever's on the range? No, you haven't. Yeah, they care about them. They want them off, and that's what they care about. But they do not care about the other animals. wolves kill other animals, whether they're domestic or whether they're not domestic. And it has got to the point where there's a lot of legislators in Washington, D.C. can see that the Endangered Species Act is being used as a tool to take down a lot of what has gone on in this country.
Well, some of the on the list of these 9 new species that environmental groups want to add on behalf of the ESA, the Endangered Species Act, the alligator snapping turtle, which is primarily found in the Mississippi River, the Barron's top minnow, which is found mostly in Tennessee, the beaver pond Marstonia, a tiny freshwater snail which is found in Georgia, the California spotted owl in California and Nevada, Canoe Creek pigtoe. Now, there you go, Jack. You got me on this one. It's found mostly in Alabama's Mobile Basin. It's a mussel. That's what it is. A foothill yellow-legged frog is found in Oregon, California, and parts of northern California and Los Angeles. And then here, the Northern Rockies fisher. It's a house cat-sized member of the weasel family with a fox-like face, and they say it's in Idaho. I've never heard of it before. And then last but not least, the Virgin River spine dace desert minnow. And that's in Arizona and southeastern Nevada and southwestern Utah. That's what they want to introduce. And it seems like they're really picking as far as they can on the apple tree to find all the apples to get you and I off the land.
They can go knock a rock in half and come up with a little fish and give it a name and say that's an endangered species. This is all ridiculous, and this is how ridiculous this issue has become. But, Zeb, there's another side to this. In California, you know what happened down there? They couldn't build in this one area because of a fly that was endangered.
The Delhi fly.
Yeah. And they couldn't build. But then when they wanted to build these electrical grids out there in the desert where those endangered turtles were, they got okay to take several thousand acres to build these electrical grids. And it makes no sense. If you stop and think of it, you'd go nuts.
The way it's going, though, in our country, and why I wanted you to come back and talk about this with the Endangered Species Act and the more control, it's absolutely, I want you to stress, it's not about saving the animal, it's not about saving the snail, it's not about saving the weasel, it's about control.
That's totally what it is. And I talked to some ranchers down in Grouse Creek a few weeks ago about control, about these issues. And BLM had them guys sign their papers for grazing AUMs this year, and they didn't. And BLM told them that they didn't even know what the regulations were coming down, but there's 7 or 6 regulations that would be coming down, and these guys have signed their grazing so they could turn their cattle out, and then they found out that BLM's going to build a big facility down there south of Grouse Creek.
Let me ask you about a situation that you were really on top of, along with a past friend of ours, and that was Grant Gerber down in Nevada.
Yes.
And that was the ranching problem down there a little bit west and south of Elko with the Filippini family and some others. What's happening with those folks?
Most of them have been kicked off from Battle Mountain. Now, the Filipinis, and I can't remember the names of all those others, but they were all on that ride with Grant Gerber to Washington, D.C. And they've been kicked off from Battle Mountain as far as grazing is concerned. And it's the things that are going on in northern Nevada is a little worse than's going on in southern Idaho.
Yeah.
But you go down, there's a guy by the name of Cliff Gardner down in northern Nevada.
I've had him on this program.
Fifth generation rancher.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy who has books that has been kept by his family and by him concerning the land and what it's like and what it used to be like, what it's like today, the regulations and the fencing and the whole thing. And, you know, you talk to people like that, and I was in a meeting with the county commissioners in Elko County, and I asked why they couldn't use this information that he has, because it's better than any biologist could put together because of the time period, and they said it couldn't be used because he is not a biologist.
Oh, my.
So it can't be put in the papers. It can't be used.
I want to come back and talk to you a few minutes about protecting our property. And you know a gentleman in particular over in western Idaho that tried to protect his property and ended up in all kinds of problems. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Got to get a weather forecast in here, and the weather's brought to you this hour by Lennox and their home comfort systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort of Ramsey Heating and Electric with Lennox. You call them today, 678-0459. Here's Gina with the weather.
Here's the weather forecast as we are moving our way through the work week on Wednesday, March 23rd, and it is going to be breezy, but welcome to southern Idaho. Winds out of the west right around 20 miles an hour for today. Expect partly cloudy skies. High at 51 with an overnight low of 34. Winds picking up a little bit tomorrow out of the southwest right around 25 miles an hour. Mostly cloudy skies. High at 53 with an overnight low of 34. And, of course, again, windy for Friday. We're probably going to be in a wind advisory on Friday. Winds out of the west right around 30 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies, high of 44 with an overnight low of 26. And then for the weekend, winds dying down, looking at partly smoky sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the low to mid-50s. Yesterday's high was 48. The overnight low was 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Range.
Oh, thank you very much, Gina. Brought to you this hour, excuse me for the sore throat, Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Call them today at 678-0459. Remember, at Ramsey's, they have warm winters and cool summers with Lennox. Jack, what about the situation with that gentleman over, I believe you said he was in western Idaho, ran into all kinds of problems and arguments with the BLM for trying to protect his property during a fire?
Well, that's Hammond in Oregon.
That's one of them. I thought there was another one you were referring to also.
Oh,
yes.
That's right out here,
yeah,
across the mountain.
Well, I thought there was one that you had mentioned over in western Idaho up by Bruno, and I can't think of the man's name right now. You had told me about it a week ago.
I can't remember that one.
Yeah, but he disced around his property, and
but we got a guy right up here in Elba,
yeah,
who's been burned out twice.
Okay. That's the one.
By the BLM, and I called him to see, because of what's happened to the Hammonds in Oregon. I called this gentleman out there in Elba to see how much he had received back from the BLM, from BLM fires burning off from their property onto him and burning his property. And the first time it burned $150,000 worth of hay, and the second time it burned equipment and a shed and some other stuff. And he said he has received zero. And these have been over a long period of time. The last fire was about 3 years ago. But, you know, you look at that situation and you look at the Hammonds, here they are. They burned supposedly 127 acres of BLM property that they had permission to do a backfire to stop the fire coming onto their property.
That's right.
And it burned 127 acres of theirs. They're in prison. Well, the Hages in Nevada, they got a United States Supreme Court decision in their favor. They had to go clear to the United States Supreme Court and they got a $14 million award, and they received zero.
Right.
If we did this with IRS or anybody else, we'd be in jail.
Who is standing up for us? Tell me that. Nobody is.
This is what bothers me about some of our people that represent us in Washington, D.C. I mean, these instances, like out here at Elba, I mean, this is right here in our neighborhood, and the one up in Oregon. Who is standing up for us?
Well, let me ask you this, and I know they listen, and I know they criticize me behind my back. They don't call in. But as in regards to the BLM, let's talk about that right now. What do you think is going to happen? I've heard all kinds of horror stories about shutting down various points of entry into various units that are BLM controlled, and I've heard that they're going to go in and take apart and tear apart some of the roads and make it impassable so you can't go up in certain areas. Why?
It's going to happen. I got a cabin in Island Park. They came in, the Forest Service came in on some of those roads, and they, with a bulldozer, and they dozed big, deep holes in the roads, and you got a hill and road and a hill.
And erosion.
And then you got erosion. You got all this stuff. I mean, it is totally ridiculous what's going on. But back to these fires and that. I looked on my tax records up in that county up there, Fremont County, and I have to pay taxes if a fire gets off of my property onto Forest Service property. I have to pay taxes to the Forest Service every year because of that. But is there any guarantee for me to back if the fire comes off the Forest Service onto me? No.
Have you asked them about this?
Yes, I have asked them about that, and there is none.
So basically what's good for the goose is not good for the gander.
No.
So there's no...
I see it on my tax bill every year.
So there's no reciprocity back to you if they goof.
And then I look at the Hages, and I look at the Hammonds, and I look out here in Elba. Zeb, we are being had.
Well, that's just
who's representing
there
us.
You go. Who is standing up for us? And if we or us say or do anything, then they put the hammer on us.
That's right. That's right. And every time like that article said, every time that a payment is due to the Hages, they put the hammer back on the Hages again and say, you didn't do this.
You know, I'm not trying to be extremely negative about this subject, but really, where is the fairness? Where is the equity back to the first three words of our Constitution, we the people? It seems like it's all one way, and then if we get out of line, they step on us like a bug.
That's right. And, you know, it's like my property up there. I'm on private property, and they said, you have to guarantee the public property and its safety.
Okay, so you're out burning, or you're not, maybe you do burn your hamburgers, I don't know. But maybe you're out charcoaling some hamburgers and a spark sets, some of the land on fire. You would be liable for the damages incurred because of that fire. But on the other hand, if they start a fire, too bad, Jack. Find a new place to build your cabin, right?
That's right. And you can see with the Hammonds in prison just exactly what what comes back?
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's all about control.
It is control, control, control.
I got to do a commercial break, and then we'll wrap things up. Jack Euler on the program. Don't forget Lee's Furniture. Great big store for all you need. All the sofas, all the love seats. Jack is going to buy his wife another love seat. Sectionals and sleepers. And, I mean, they've got a newly expanded sleep center over there. You got to get in there and check it out with all the top-name brands. And like I've been telling you, they've got all your dining room furniture, all the accessories. Go in and check all the accessories, all the wall paintings and everything else. Beautiful. And, of course, the bedroom material and recliners. They've got rows and rows of recliners. And they've got the lift recliners, too. You'd better check it out today at my friends and yours, Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Is there an answer, Jack? I mean, what do we do? This next election, and I'll be very blunt, and I think you will be too, that if we are, as a nation, dumb enough to put in another almost third-term Obama, which would be Hillary, it's going to get a lot worse.
Totally worse. And, you know, a lot of people don't know if we put in Trump what we're going to have. But I'm ready for a different change. Just for, you know, Obama said hope and change. Well, it didn't work.
Yeah,
as
now
far
we're
as
hoping
I'm
for
concerned.
a change. Yeah.
But we have to have somebody in there that will respect what we have.
Absolutely. Real quick, Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife 14th Annual Magic Valley Chapter Rally for Wildlife Banquet and Fundraiser coming up on Saturday, March 26th at the Canyon Crest Event Center. Tell us about it. Where do they get tickets? Quickly, Jack.
On sfw.org.
Okay.
And there's only about 30 to 35 tickets left out of 400.
Oh, my goodness.
At least that's what I sold yesterday.
And the slogan is Sportsmen Serving Sportsmen, and you're going to have all kinds of raffles and everything else, right?
That's right.
Okay.
About 40 guns will be given away.
Oh,
and,
my.
It will be a great time, a good meal. We're going to honor some senators and everything else, and it'll be a good night, and there'll be a big crowd.
Okay, it's going to be on Saturday night, March 26th, the Canyon Crest Event Center.
Right.
And it starts with the preview at 5:30, dinner at 6:45.
That's right.
What are you serving? What are you cooking, Jack?
I don't know. I'm not in charge of that part of it.
Well, it's a good thing you're not cooking. Okay, Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife. You've been heavily involved in that. Jack, I got to run, but you know you're always welcome on this program, and thanks for sharing with us this morning.
Well, Zeb, somebody has got to start paying attention, and I don't care if it's me or if it's Senator Crapo or Representative Simpson or who it is, but somebody in Washington, D.C. needs to pay attention.
Amen. Jack Euler, dear friend of this program. Right now we're going to take a little break, send it back over to our main studios for CBS News. And then coming up next hour, Rich Miniter with the American Media Institute on Terrorism, and we're going to talk to him as to what happened in Brussels. Zeb at the Ranch, I'll be right back in 6 minutes. Welcome back, and look outside at that blue sky. A little bit chilly out there this morning, though, but it is the blustery time of March. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, 734-6969. Before we get our guest on the program this hour, I want to remind you again about Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street, Alfresco Road in Hayburn. Number to call for an appointment to have your rebuild of your starters, alternators, and generators, or even buy brand new. Doug can fix them. And the number is 878-4991. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. You get a hold of him today. By the way, too, our dear friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's gas furnaces, air conditioners, or heat pumps, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. I'm very, very fortunate to have this man on my program this morning, and I really want to pick his brain about what's going on or not going on in regards to terrorism and terrorism protection here in this country. We have the CEO of the American Media Institute and Terrorism, security expert, Rich Miniter. Good morning, Rich. How are you?
Hey, good with you, Zeb.
It's my pleasure, believe me, because I can't wait to hear some of your thoughts on what's going on or needs to go on in this country. Now, Rich, I'm going to say a couple of things, and then I want you to dispute it or agree with me. After what happened in Brussels yesterday, it's time to declare a real war on Muslim jihadis, and NATO and the United States need to go after the bad guys full force. It's time to say no to Muslim refugees until we get a full vetting process, and it's also time to say no more political correctness. We need to go after the bad guys with the gloves off. Your thoughts, you know more about it than I do. Go ahead.
Well, I actually agree with you on all those fronts. If you're going to fight a war, I mean, war is like love. If you're not fully committed, why bother, right? There's two kinds of war we need to wage against ISIS. We need a kinetic war in which we're dropping bombs, we're putting forward air controllers on the ground to direct air fire and ground fire. We need to work with Kurdish and Arab allies to sweep them out of their positions, as we did last Sunday in Mosul with the bombing of that ISIS-run university on the outskirts of the city there. But in addition to that, we also need a war of ideas. The way we brought down communism, everyone thinks the Cold War just went on for a while and then suddenly ended. The Cold War went on from the mid to late 1940s to 1989. And what changed is in the 1980s, for the first time under the Reagan administration, we started fighting a war of ideas with the communists. We said, well, this is your idea. This is why it's wrong. This is the alternative idea. This is why freedom is better, individualism is better, prosperity is better, individual choice is better, and so on. And these were lengthy arguments, and they were in academic circles, but they were also in the popular media, and they were broadcast into captive nations, and they had their effect. People became disenchanted with communism, and ultimately the Berlin Wall fell, and communism collapsed as an ideal. But even in the 1980s, Americans would say that communism is morally superior to our system. And no one says that anymore because we won the war of ideas. So now we've got to do the same thing to radical Islam, which a more exact term would be Salafism. The Salafis are a small segment of Islam that has very strict beliefs. One of the ways you can spot Salafis when you're on the streets of an Arab city, if the women who are fully covered are also wearing gloves, usually black gloves, so that their modesty requires they can't even show the skin of their hands. That is usually a Salafi. There are other ways to tell Salafis. Now, many Salafis are what are called quietists, so they're not violent. But every terror group that you ever heard of is Salafi. Muslim Brotherhood, Egyptian Islamic Jihad, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Laqs-e-Taiba. I mean, pick one. They're all essentially Salafi. And by the way, a lot of the same fighters move from group to group. So, as Al-Qaeda goes down in popularity and loses money in certain sections of the world, the fighters just shift to another terror group. So the idea that these people have been offended by the U.S. presence in the Middle East or something that we said on our, some video on YouTube is just nonsense. These people, this is what they do with their lives. They are Islamic radical fighters, and they go where they're fighting. They travel from Afghanistan to Kurdistan to Tajikistan to the Balkans and to Europe, looking for a fight and looking for a commander who will fund them and lead them in terror attacks. So the way to defeat them is to engage radical Islam, to engage this Salafism, and point out its inconsistencies, its failings, its hypocrisy, while at the same time pointing out the advantages of individual liberty, of rule of law, of a system like ours. Not to say our system is perfect, but I think it's a lot closer to what will make the vast majority of people happier than anything that the Salafis have to offer. But if we're not prepared to do that, to call it what it is, and to acknowledge that our civilization is superior, both morally and in terms of economic power. We are morally superior because we believe in the individual, and we force our leaders to follow the same laws that we do. That's what rule of law means. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. We've got some problems with the political elites in our country, and so on. But those are the ideals, and we need to get back the courage to admit that we are right, and that our civilization is right, and that we have something profound and different to teach the world, and to also warn the radical Islamists, or what I would call the Salafis, most scholars would call the Salafis, if you want to tangle with us, we have a long list of defeated enemies that goes back 400 years. America is the breaker of empires and dictators. We drove every European empire off our continent, the French, the Dutch, the Russians, the British, and then we went to other people's continents and destroyed fascism, communism, Imperial Japan. These guys are a sideshow. They are smaller than any enemy we have faced since the Iroquois, and they should live in fear of us. That would be my approach.
You know, I hung on every word that you just said, and I was taking notes, and I've got to ask you this. This administration, with kind of a containment idea of ISIS and Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, etc., it's not working. And there also seems to be an appeasement. That's the word I'll use with Obama's administration towards the jihadist movement. When did all this come into effect? When did America start to realize that we were going to be appeasing instead of putting the enemy down? Why did this happen, and who started it?
I think it started in the Bush years. It started in the bureaucracy of the Bush years. I mean, there's two things going on here, right? The Democratic Party and sort of the political establishment has been losing working class votes for almost, for more than a generation. And we need to make up those voters. So that's the attraction of immigration to them, is that it brings in a new set of voters who are more likely to vote for them than for the other party. And so the idea that anyone could criticize Muslim immigrants means that you're endangering the future of the Democratic Party. So from a political operative's point of view, they need to go soft on the war on terror, soft on critiquing radical Islam, and soft on protecting the border in order to provide enough new voters for their party to have a chance, right? So that's the political partisan point of it. In the bureaucracy, where do bureaucrats come from in the national security apparatus? They mostly come from academia. So a lot of the politically correct ideas of academia, where you may not say this, you shall not say that, all of these incredible rules regarding how you talk about reality rather than acknowledging reality, are the fascination of professors and their graduate students. And these are the people who make up the expert class inside the federal government. So they took those same ideas with them. And after Bush's reelection in 2004, you saw a real pivot in the bureaucracy. The stronger-minded political appointees had largely been marginalized or left or got tired and replaced by people who were being, basically given resume-building positions as political appointees, in some cases anyway. I'm not saying this about everyone. And that had an effect. And you began to see the use of the word Islam drop away. Another word that they dropped very quickly, which you almost never see in Bush or certainly not in Obama administration communications. Zeb, when was the last time you heard the military or the president or the diplomats or even the pundits use this word, enemy? Mm-hmm. They never use the word enemy. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely.
They'll say bad guys, they'll say ISIS or ISIL, but they'll never say enemy. If you're not willing to admit that you're at war, you can't win. You have to know that you're in a fight. Now, war is a particular kind of fight. It's an all-out thing.
Absolutely.
It's a desperate struggle. It is, you hold back nothing. If you're at war, you use all of your strengths, all of your abilities, everything at your disposal. And for them not to use the word enemy, they're trying to get, and they don't like the phrase war on terror either. They want to get away from war because they want to turn it into an abstract theoretical discussion, because they imagine that there's some sort of deal to be made with these radical groups.
Right.
There is not. There's no compromise between food and poison, and there's no compromise between your existence and your non-existence. ISIS has made it very clear in their documents, and I'm about to give you their words. They say they want the black flag of Islam to fly over the White House. They say they want America subjected to Sharia law. That is to say that no matter what your religion, you would be forced by a powerful dictator called a Khalifa to obey every dictate of their interpretation of their religious law. By the way, there's not one Sharia law. Everyone talks about Sharia like it's one thing. There's 6 major different bodies of Sharia law that all disagree with each other slightly. So it amounts to whatever the ruler wants.
You wrote a great
negotiate with ISIS. Only thing they want is the end of American civilization and complete submission to their dictatorial rule.
Absolutely.
How do you negotiate with that? It's not like they want, 10% and we want 10%. You can split the difference in the middle. They want us to cease existing. But the people who make up a lot of the national security apparatus don't seem to understand this is a war based on whether we exist or not. They know that we're powerful. They know that we're rich. They know that we've won every other conflict. And they simply can't imagine that there's a group out there that simply wants to erase us. They do not understand the gravity of the situation they're facing. Now, I'm not saying that we face a real danger of civilizational elimination, but that's what the enemy, the bad guys, if you prefer, that's what they're fighting for.
Absolutely.
There is no compromise.
Rich, I want to lead into your piece that you just wrote about the hidden message. But, yesterday, Obama, in my opinion, sent a message to terrorism around the world when all he could find is 51 seconds. 51 seconds in a speech from Cuba to basically mention the terrorist bombings in Brussels. 51 seconds. And at the same time, the terrorists, in your great article that you wrote, The Hidden Message in the Brussels Terrorist Attacks, they're sending us a message basically saying, you've got weak leadership and we can do anything we want to. Wouldn't you agree with that?
That's right, yeah. By the way, your listeners can read it for free at Forbes.com, the Forbes magazine website. Yeah, of course they know that Obama's weak. By the way, 51 seconds, which is criminally short for the victims of Brussels terrorism, that's 51 more seconds than he spent on the Christian missionaries and political prisoners now suffering for decades in Castro's jails. He didn't have a single word for them, for the innocent dissenters in Cuba who've been locked up. And by the way, the number of prisoners in Castro's prisons who are political prisoners has more than doubled under Obama, because the Castros fear him least of all. And I think Obama does not understand that fear is a very useful aspect for a leader to have. And every good leader knows that at some point people have to respect you, not just agree with you. But I think the larger point is, well, if you look at Obama's words, it's what he said and what he didn't say in that 51 seconds. He called for global unity, as if the problem is lack of unity against terrorism. And then he said that he wanted to bring them to justice. He did not say the phrase that Bush said very often, which is that he would hunt them to the ends of the earth and that he would kill or capture them. He didn't use those words. There's no definitive kill or capture. There's no idea of a moral imperative that we're going to find these people no matter where they hide. It's that we're going to bring them to justice. I guess someone's going to call 911 and turn them in, and we'll handcuff them and take them into a civilian trial and give them an ACLU lawyer and let them go through their version of the O.J. Simpson trial on live American TV for a couple of years. That's the idea. That is not something that frightens our enemies. It's not something that deters attacks. And it's not something that makes ordinary Americans feel safe. So I would say that's 51 failed seconds of a presidency, counting the minutes until it ends.
Absolutely. Rich, final thoughts here. Another question, and this is basically a speculation question with your expertise on terrorism. We have been told that the FBI and Homeland Security basically is looking and checking into all the states, 50 states, New York, of course, Texas, Oregon, and all the states that are said to have some kind of a jihadi movement with terrorist training camps, etc. On a 1 to 10 scale, right now today, Wednesday, March 23rd, how afraid are you as to where the United States is with a terror level alert?
Actually, I feel pretty good about where the United States is right now. Since 2001, we've spent something like $46 billion. Now, of course, it's the government, so a bit of that was wasted. But we've hardened a lot of facilities. We've become a lot smarter. I think the Obama administration threw away a few of the gains of the Bush years. But they have some new ones, too. I think our law enforcement is better integrated with federal authorities than ever before. There's been a lot of counterterrorism training. They now have radios where they can talk to each other. The training, especially the FBI training, which is very politically correct, could get better, where they're willing to talk about the ideas of radical Islam, and they've got to, begin infiltrating mosques, or at least getting informants to sit in those mosques and reveal information in places where there are dangers. There are a lot of Arab Americans, by the way. By the way, the average Arab American is Christian. More than two-thirds of Arab Americans are Christian. But Muslim Arab Americans, too. Many of them are patriotic. I've met them in Afghanistan serving as interpreters or as soldiers or as chaplains. Many of them would be happy to help if they were called upon by America's leadership to help. I think we're in a pretty good position against terrorism. It's not to say there won't be more attacks like the one in San Bernardino. I think we need to be even more aggressive, but I think we're on the right path. I think who's not on the right path is the Europeans. They have an enormous immigration problem in which, more than 1 million out of 6 million people in Belgium, for example, are Muslim immigrants, many of whom are illiterate in their own language. And these are very ripe for recruiting into terrorist attacks. And we've got to realize that immigration policy and welfare policy are part of a counterterrorism strategy. There's a reason why every al-Qaeda terrorist we've arrested at the border, we've been arrested at the Canadian border. Because actually, if you read al-Qaeda documents and other terrorist documents, they're attracted to welfare states. They all get on welfare, and that's what finances their cell. And they can have full time to devote to their plots and plans. Whereas in Mexico, there really essentially is no welfare. And even though there's a substantial Palestinian population there, you've never seen, anyone's ever been intercepted from Al-Qaeda or any other Islamic terror group plotting and planning out of Mexico. So we've got to create a welfare, we've got to do some welfare reform to make us even less attractive for militants. We've got to look at immigration. We've got some big things ahead of us. But we're a lot better off than Europe is right now. For the steps we've already taken. So I would not, if you're driving right now and you want to pull over on the side of the road and say, oh my gosh, could they be around the next corner? Probably not. I think if you look at the record number of arrests, our law enforcement has actually been very, very effective. And frankly, I don't think they get appreciated enough.
Absolutely. Rich, final thought, short question, short answer. I'm almost out of time. But of all the political candidates for president this year, left side of the aisle, right side of the aisle, who, in your opinion, would be the toughest on terrorism in the next 4 years?
I don't like to endorse candidates. I endorse principles, not people. My principles are the Constitution and freedom and so on. That said, what concerns me about Trump is to fight an effective war, you need to mobilize everyone, from the private and the sergeant all the way to the general, and you need to do that throughout the federal bureaucracy and mobilize all of America's forces. I don't know if he could do that. I know that someone like Ted Cruz could do that, and I think, believe it or not, even Hillary Clinton could do that. She certainly showed that in the. I remember book Leading from Behind. I show how she pushed the Obama administration into sending the SEALs to kill bin Laden. So I think she's very poll-driven, but I think she would be willing to do that. Bernie Sanders, I think, would not have the confidence of the military or the bureaucracy, and nor would he have the inclination to fight. And I think he would, if anything, be worse than the current president.
Absolutely. I want to thank you so much for coming on the program, Rich Miniter, and you can read his writings on Forbes.com. Thank you very much, and I hope I can call you in the future and have you come back. Rich, thank you.
I'm happy to talk to you anytime, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much. An expert on terrorism with the American Media Institute and Terrorism National Security expert, Rich Miniter, giving you some play-by-play, blow-by-blow attitudes about what's going on with terrorism around in Europe and also what might happen here in the United States. Got to pay some bills, and I want to remind you about some friends of ours. They call their business the Cutting Edge Curbing, and they're located at 424 16th Street in Rupert. Number to call, actually there's two numbers to call, 808-3360 or 260-2583. And you know what? For a variety of colors, for the curbing to add beauty and value to your property. Oh my goodness, they can provide curbing in the slant or the mower's edge or the square or the dome top, and they have all the stamping in the different shades and colors, the cobble tone, the slate basket weave, natural stone, all kinds of beautiful colors, and they do a wonderful job. Sarah and Mike Baxter at Cutting Edge Curbing, and the numbers 808-3360 or 260-2583. What we're going to do is send it back over to our main studios, and then next half hour, Dr. Elena George from Atlanta, Georgia. Wheels, take it away.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you very much. In just a few moments, hopefully, we're going to make a connection with Dr. Elena George in Atlanta, Georgia. Wheels, answer your phone if you can, because Deanne's going to be calling you right away with a new number, Wheels, if you are listening, please.
I actually have Elena George on.
Oh, you do? Okay, everything's okay then. All right, I'll do these commercials and I'll be right with her. Thank you very much. Once again, I want to stress the fact that Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Absolutely. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. You call 678-0459. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored to have this lady come back on our program. She's been here, I think, about 4 or 5 times in the past talking about Obamacare. And her name is Dr. Elena George in Atlanta, Georgia. And I have so much respect for her attitude and opinions. And she recently wrote a piece called The Healthcare Rhetoric versus the Reality. Dr. George, good morning, and how are you this morning?
I'm fine. It's really a pleasure to be back with you.
You know, Dr. George, in our previous programs, we have kind of nitpicked and torn apart, if you will, Obamacare. And now it's been an inception for quite some time, and I see that it's going to go before the Supreme Court again, and there's other problems with it. Where are we exactly today with Obamacare?
Well, you know, actually today's the anniversary that it was signed into law, which is ironic, isn't it? And I'm speaking with you today. We're well down the road of its implementation. We have had a change, the fundamental change of our healthcare delivery system has already happened. And let me give you an example. We had hundreds of hospitals across the country, rural as well as in the cities. And the rural hospitals have been dying off during the last 6 years. Some communities don't even have rural hospitals anymore. And the centralization of hospital into systems has happened. So you have community hospitals closing, rural hospitals closing, and access has decreased, especially for the rural communities. Another thing that's happened is the insurance companies. There were dozens of insurance companies. Now there's 5. So again, access and choice and being able to actually see the costs go down because of competition has gone away. The doctors like myself who are independent, we're now 30% of the total doctors in this country. We used to be the majority. So most of our colleagues now are employed by hospitals. So what we've had, Zeb, is the consolidation and the centralization of the healthcare delivery system. And unfortunately, the most expensive parts of healthcare have been empowered in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the costs have gone up. That's why the access has gone down. That's why doctors are really, if you ask the average doctor, extremely unhappy with the way they're forced to treat their patients. And patients can't afford to see their doctors because they have to pay so much on top of their insurance premiums. So it's not very good. It's pretty much a disaster.
Let me ask you this, and I remember vividly the first time, the first time I had you on the program, and we were talking about all the shortcomings with Obamacare, and we had mentioned that there would be a real stringent application to the doctors as far as what they could make financially and what money they couldn't make financially, and many doctors have left the profession, and many young doctors have decided not to pursue the end of their education. We were right. And people called, I remember this, and they said, oh, no, there'll never be a shortage of doctors. Oh, no, there won't be any cutbacks. Everything you said is coming to fruition. So what do we do now? This is a mess.
It is a mess, and I think you've distilled the problem down. We don't have enough quality doctors out there who are in the system. But what we have seen is a two-tier system develop. And the second part of this, the alternative to the Affordable Care Act and commercial insurance-driven medicine, is thriving. That's direct primary care practices. It's not concierge in the classic sense where people paying a couple $1,000 a year just to walk in someone's door. This is where the average person, family, can pay about $100 a month, an individual about $60 to $80 a month, like a gym membership. And they have a primary care doctor who can spend a half an hour with them, go over their medical history, be their advocate, and actually treat them and actually get them better. So that's one aspect of what's going on with the affordable part of healthcare. The other thing that's going on is medical cost sharing. We talked about it, I think, before.
Yes.
Companies like Liberty HealthShare, Samaritan, Medishare, these are all written into the letter of the law. I actually became a member of Liberty HealthShare because I know that I don't want to have my privacy. I don't want to have my privacy given away by being in the electronic medical record system.
Right.
I don't want to spend thousands of dollars for the privilege of carrying a piece of plastic. So I joined as a member. I put my employees on it, and we actually can get health care at a fraction of what I used to have to spend for them using commercial insurance. People need to understand that. You can pay anywhere from $104 a month to $199 a month under Liberty HealthShare for a family less than $500 a month, and that family is 3 or more people. The out-of-pocket is $500 per year per person, total. And you can either be covered up to $1 million per occurrence per year for the most expensive plan, or as low as $125,000 per occurrence per year for the lower plan. That covers most of what anybody's pocketbook, for the most part, can actually afford.
Absolutely.
And you can see whatever doctor you want.
Absolutely.
You're not going to be fined. You can go to any hospital you want. You're not restricted. Those are the differences. And I wrote a book that led people down and educated them about what was out there outside of commercial insurance so they can really do their own due diligence and figure out what's best for them and their families. It's called Big Medicine. And you can get it on Amazon or you can get it at my website, drelenageorge.com.
Let me ask you this, Doctor, and I'm not going to talk about any one particular political candidate. I don't want to paint you into a corner that way. But there have been some of the candidates say, well, when I'm elected, I'll repeal Obamacare. Isn't it a little late about thinking about repeal? What would you do?
Listen, I'm going to be honest. Obamacare is here for the long haul. All these tentacles have already destroyed, as I just described. Rural hospitals are gone. The health insurance industry is consolidated. Doctors are no longer independent, for the most part. I don't believe repeal and replace. It's just a mantra at this point. But you know what? I do my due diligence, and I have read platforms of all the candidates. And I was actually intrigued by Donald Trump's health care platform. He has something about health savings accounts, which I thought was really well thought out. They should be able to be passed generationally as well. So you can pass it to a loved one if you pass away. You can give it to a family member to use. You can put in as much money as you want to, unlimited. You can tax deduct the whole thing. And you can use it for whatever you want it to be used for, health-related. That's not the case now. That's a really good idea. I think he's also about free market. If you get out of the way, let the government, if people want the Affordable Care Act, so be it. That's what I mean, it's here to stay. But allow the free market side of it to thrive without regulations and all the things that's trying to get rid of competition. I think anybody who speaks to those two things will actually help the healthcare system, help the pendulum of this healthcare system swing back towards the patient and the doctor.
In your article, one paragraph really caught me, and I'd like to repeat it to my audience this morning and then have you make a comment. You said, quote, "The continued movement down this path will inevitably lead to the flight out of medicine of those doctors who advocate for a patient's right to individualized health care, unencumbered by the mandates of the government and the cronies from the medical insurance industry that have partnered to drive American medicine in a race to the bottom." It doesn't sound very good. It sounds pretty foreboding about where our healthcare system is in America today, doesn't it?
I think if people stay the course and they feel unempowered and they continue to buy this what they want to call the insurance, really what it is a tax, and this is what they're going to look forward to. Those of us, like myself, who say, I'm not going to play the game, I'm not going to live in fear, I'm going to make conscious choices for me and my family, they're going to choose what I just discussed. Direct primary care practices, they're going to choose medical cost sharing, they're going to make a direct contract with a doctor, an independent doctor, so they can actually get quality health care. We're still out here, and if people choose us, that's how we'll put pressure on the system to change. They only understand money. If they make you believe that they're the only game in town, that's how they win. It's people who decide to opt away, to choose a better path. That's how we make them come to where we are. And that's the power of the purse and of the individual using it wisely.
Dr. George, today, as a matter of fact, as we speak, the Obamacare program goes again before the Supreme Court to decide the constitutionality of the law's contraception mandate. I'd like you to comment on that, if you would, please.
You know, it's unconstitutional. They're forcing people to go against their religious freedom. It's getting rid of religious freedom, and I take offense to that. I certainly hope the Supreme Court will strike this. It should be a way to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, but certainly that tenet in it. No one should be forced to go against the moral and ethical objection. But I don't trust the Supreme Court. They've ruled in kind of a lot of weird ways right now, so it's really hard to say what they're going to do.
Absolutely. Now, I want to ask you about this because I find this very offensive. I've tried to pay my bills all my life. I've raised my family. I haven't asked for help. I've always maintained a charitable attitude towards others. But when I sat there the other night and watched the news, and Hillary Clinton came out and said that if she's elected president, she would like to have Obamacare for illegal aliens in this country, I about tipped over my geezer chair. I was so mad. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, you know, Zeb, it's already happening. If you look at all of the articles that come out about wealthy people taking the mandates, legal, so they didn't vet who actually got on the rolls in the first place because they wanted to get the numbers up to make it look like it was successful. So they didn't ask for any personal information. You didn't have to prove anything. Now they're going back and they're looking at people who actually aren't qualified to be there. I certainly don't think that if you're not here legally that you should be in the system. So I'm not for that. But the only reason that she would say that, one, is because she's pandering, and two, you need to try to get these numbers up because it hasn't been successful in terms of the numbers of people who have joined it. But it has been successful at ripping apart the system that's currently in place. Mission accomplished on that. But they still don't have the numbers. I mean, there's still less than 28,000 people on this thing, or 20 million, I forget. It's very low. It's not working.
You had an excellent end to your article with many, many points of interest that will promote actual health care reform, to use your words. On a scale of 1 to 10, how optimistic are you, Dr. George, that we can turn this system around and make it better for the citizens of the United States? 1 to 10 scale, how optimistic are you?
I think as long as you and I are here, Zeb, and like-minded people really care about this country and want to protect their freedom of choice, their health, I think it's high. I think it's going to be about an 8. But we can't sit back and be silent. We have to make conscious choices and not just talk about it, but be about it. I'm not part of the commercial insurance system. I was a patient. I've taken my office off of I don't accept a lot of those insurances because I don't want to be part of that system. I don't think it provides quality health care. It makes me practice against my Hippocratic oath. So I've made some changes so that I don't embolden and empower the system. If everybody who felt that way actually made choices away from it, that's the best way to stop the system from taking over everything.
So what would you suggest, Doctor? I mean, should people, whether they're young marrieds or whether they're single millennials or whether they're middle-aged looking to retirement, or if they're people old like I am in retirement, what should people be doing? What should be their activation? Who should they be talking to, and what should they be demanding?
The first thing, the easiest thing is to talk to your doctor first, right? I mean, if you're talking about healthcare, right? Talk to your doctor. Find out, number one, where they stand in this. If they're hospital employed, they don't have any say anymore. They've lost their autonomy to be your advocate. They're agents of whoever is paying the bills for them, whether that's the government or that's the hospital they work for. You might want to look at a website called aapsonline.org. That is a consortium of independent doctors across the country who take the discounted cash pay for their patients, who have direct primary care, who do Liberty Health Care. Those are areas, that's one website you can go to and find doctors in your community who think like you do. That's number one. The second thing is I would look at my insurance plan. Are you happy with it? Is your deductible crazy? You know, is it $2,000 or $3,000? Is it $10,000? You're paying for the privilege of carrying a piece of plastic because you can't. In my experience, people who have that forego testing, they don't get surgery because the out-of-pocket is so exorbitant they can't afford it. I would call up a company like Liberty Health Share. It's based on the Christian ministry principles, but you don't have to belong to a church. You don't even have to be Christian, but you do have to subscribe to basic tenets of honesty, of being willing to take care of your neighbor's bills. No abortion is allowed under this system, which is fine. If you want to pay for that, you do it. But it does cover medically necessary things. If you want to be more traditional, you can go to Samaritan, or you can go to MediShare. There's a company called MediBid.com. That if you have something that you need to get done surgically, you can bid for it with doctors across the country. You can go to my website, drelenageorge.com. All of this is on there. So you can look at all of the links and do your own due diligence, or better yet, get my book, and then you can have it in writing and in more detail of all of these different strategies. AFLAC, another strategy, where you get supplemental policies to cover you if you have any catastrophic illness, cancer, stroke, heart attack. You need an ambulance kind of service. You need any kind of emergency care. For less than $20 a month, you can get coverage. We did that. So if we get a horrible diagnosis, we're going to get a $250,000 check written to me or any one of my employees that will help take care of us if we get into trouble. That's a fraction of what you're paying now under the commercial insurance plans. So there's options. They work for the old, for the young. You can do medical cost sharing like Liberty Health Share. Instead of AARP, which I'm totally against, since they were totally in bed with writing and implementing Obamacare. They were 100% behind it because they knew that they were going to get people, because Medicare wasn't going to cover enough, that they were looking for the people to pick them as the supplemental policy.
Right.
Everybody in that thing who wrote it stood to gain, and they worked against all of our interests. I say now we take our power back and we start working for our own interests, whatever they may be. And as far as the election goes, I think that people should vote for something and not against it.
There you go.
I don't practice there any politics. I don't care about what color somebody is, but I am going to vote for my ethical, moral, business, and personal and family interests. Whoever fits that bill, that's who I'm voting for.
I love this lady, Dr. Elena George. Be sure and check out her website, drelenageorge.com, with the writing, the healthcare rhetoric versus reality. Thank you so much. God's blessings to you, and I'll be in touch to have you back. Thank you again.
It's my pleasure. God bless you, too, and your listeners.
Oh, thank you, Dr. George. I think a lot of this lady, and she's so up on what's going on with healthcare. Thank you very much. I've got to get the weather in here, and I know Wheels is waiting over at the station. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, sponsoring the weather, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Your hometown meat cutter, Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew at Scarrows Meats. Here we go with Gina.
Here's the weather forecast as we are moving our way through the work week on Wednesday, March 23rd, and it is going to be breezy, but welcome to Southern Idaho. Winds out of the west right around 20 miles an hour for today. Expect partly cloudy skies. High of 51 with an overnight low of 34. Winds picking up a little bit tomorrow out of the southwest right around 25 miles an hour. Mostly cloudy skies. High of 53 with an overnight low of 34. And, of course, again, windy for Friday. We're probably going to be in a wind advisory on Friday. Winds out of the west right around 30 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies, high of 44 with an overnight low of 26. And then for the weekend, winds dying down, looking at partly smoky sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the low to mid-50s. Yesterday's high was 48. The overnight low was 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. By the way, don't forget Reg Trading Post at 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Oh, my goodness, they've got all your brand new guns. They've got all the ammo, all the accessories. And by the way, they take trade-ins, too. They give free appraisals on your firearms. You stop in at the 1936, they've been in town since 1936 in Twin Falls, in historic Old Town Twin. And all the gun cleaning kits and reloading kits and the hard-to-find powder for the reloaders at Reg Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. You know, after the program ends at the end of the 10 o'clock hour, I always want to say thank you to our major sponsor, our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. God bless each and every one of them. They're really good folks, and they've got great personnel to serve you with the best in tires for all your driving needs on your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever. And the best in, of course, brake service. Oh, they are good. Front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. And you know what? They really thrive on providing the best of service to you. They come at a run and say, may we help you? You stop in today at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got a big day tomorrow, and I want to remind you at 8:30 tomorrow morning, we're going to do something a little different and have a special guest, Ryan Morrow, with the Clarion Project back in Washington, D.C., studying Islamic terror, and he's going to be on for about 10 minutes with us that first hour. Don't miss it. Zeb at the Ranch, God bless you and your family. The way things were are the way things ought to be. Wheels, great job, buddy. See you tomorrow morning.